Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. So yesterday we learned this verse which describes the 6 kinds of Vaishnava aparad, as we just practiced and revised and as we memorized and talked about yesterday. So today we're going to go over the 6 kinds of offenses with examples. And we'll talk a little bit about Vaishnava aparad. Right? So, what's the verse first of all? This is from Hari Bhakti Vilas. You have it there with you? Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is the place?
10.6.3.1.2.
Oh, very good. 10.6.3.1.2. Okay, Hari Bhakti Vilas, 6 kinds of?
No, 10. I think it's 10.
Yeah.
Chapter 10.3.1.2.
10.3.1.2. So this is the 6 kinds of Vaishnava aparad. Hanti nindati vaidveshti Vaishnava na avinandati krudyate yadino harsham darshane vatanani shat. So there are 6 kinds of offenses to the Vaishnavas, committing upon which one will fall down. So first, hanti means to beat or kill or try to kill. Nindati, to criticize. Dveshti, to feel enviousness towards them. Vaishnavan na abhinandati, to not welcome them. Krudyate, to show anger to them or to feel anger towards them. You may show it or you may feel it. Sometimes you don't show it but you feel anger towards them. This is also Vaishnava aparad. Krudyate yadino harsham darshane, to not be happy upon seeing the Vaishnava. These are the 6 kinds of offenses to the Vaishnavas. So we'll tell some examples of each of these kinds of offenses so we can learn from the past times and also learn how to not commit them in the future and be careful about them. Also, in general, it's very important to not commit offenses to Vaishnavas. It's said that committing offenses to Vaishnavas is like the mad elephant offense. When you are growing in bhakti, your bhakti lata creeper, bhakti lata bij is described to be very tender. When your bhakti is developing, first bhakti is like 2 sprouts come, and you have a very small plant. If you see a plant with 2 sprouts, it's very tender. And if a mad elephant comes through that area and tramples it, then it has no hope of survival. So it says that criticizing the Vaishnavas or committing any, generally we say don't do Vaishnava aparad, we generally think to mean criticizing. Don't criticize the Vaishnavas, we say. Gurudev would say never criticize, never complain. You know, he would say like this: try not to criticize, try not to complain, and always chant. These are the 3 C's. Always chant, never criticize, and never complain. Gurudev would say like that. So, however, only criticizing the Vaishnavas is not the only kind of Vaishnava aparad. We've learned yesterday there are 6 kinds of Vaishnava aparad. And why are these so important not to commit? Because it's said that the Vaishnavas are the heart of Krishna. They are Krishna's own heart and soul. Krishna, we've heard how he said he has so much love for the devotees. He said the devotees are his heart and he is in the heart of his devotees. They are always connected. So if you criticize the devotees, Krishna will not accept that. He said if you offend Krishna himself, Krishna will forgive you. He doesn't take so much offense. But if you criticize Vaishnavas, Krishna will not forgive you. So there's some stories about this. Hanti, one of the famous stories about this, we heard this a while ago in regard to Vaishnava Tattva. We also heard this story, but we'll tell it in brief now. What's an example of Hanti? Trying to beat or kill the Vaishnava. Yeah, this is coming. Ambarish Maharaj. Yeah, Haridas coming soon. Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa. So we heard the story. Ambarish was performing Ekadashi, fasting the whole day before, only taking fruits, complete fast from even water and Ekadashi. And then the next day, he was going to break his fast, and Durvasa arrived, and Durvasa then went to bathe, and he was late, and so the time to break the fast came, and Ambarish asked all of his ministers what to do, and they said you should break with Charnamrita, because if you break with Charnamrita, it's considered breaking the fast, but also not breaking. But because he had done Nirjal without taking even water, he could break the fast with Charnamrita. He took the Charnamrita, and then, after he had taken that, Durvasa soon arrived, and being very realized, or knowing the past, present, future, he understood that Ambarish had taken without his permission or without before him. It said that to take before the Vaishnava is also considered neglect, because Durvasa was a great sage and Ambarish, from external perspective, was on a lower level. So he had invited Durvasa as his guest, but then he had eaten before him. So Durvasa showed anger, and he took out a strand of hair and threw it on the ground. And this became a fiery demoness. So it said some of the Vaishnava aparads, when you do Vaishnava aparad, sometimes you do a few combined. Like you may criticize the Vaishnava, but you also have anger towards them, and that's why you're criticizing. You may not welcome them, and then you also criticize them. So they can combine. So we see with Durvasa, he was angry, but he also tried to beat and kill. So it comes mostly under the category of Hanti. Because really, he threw his dreadlock down, and he was thinking, let this demoness kill Ambarish. But also this Durvasa pastime is very mysterious, because really, Durvasa is such a personality that he likes to increase the glories of the devotees. So he performed this pastime to increase the glory of Ambarish Maharaj. That was his real intention. But externally, he's performing Hanti. He's trying to kill the Vaishnavas. So he took his dreadlock, threw it on the ground, and it became a huge fiery demoness. And she rushed towards Ambarish. And Ambarish showed the quality of being a Vaishnava, which is that Rakshisititi Vishwasa, Gopitve Varnangtata. He did not try to protect himself. He was not worried for his own life. He had complete faith in Krishna and Krishna's protection. Rakshisititi Vishwasa. So he just folded his hands, and as that Rakshasa fire demon was coming to him, then Krishna immediately sent his Sudarshan Chakra, and the Sudarshan Chakra came and burnt this fiery demoness to ash. Why? He said Sudarshan Chakra is so powerful, he is actually created from the sun. When the Devas and Krishna created the sun, then they took all the different fragments of extra parts and made Sudarshan Chakra. And so he became the most powerful weapon. This weapon was given to Lord Narayan. So he sent his Sudarshan Chakra. So what can a small fiery demon do in the face of Sudarshan Chakra? It's like having a titan, a titan who's like Godzilla, fighting against a bug, It's not an equal match. So Sudarshan immediately killed this fiery demoness, extinguished her, and then he went towards Durvasa because Durvasa had made the offense. So this is the example that when you make offense towards Vaishnava, we think we are projecting this towards them, trying to harm them or criticizing them. Whatever we are doing, we are putting it towards them. But by karma, it will come back to us. It will come back to us. So he was trying to hurt Ambarish, even though this is only pastime. Durvasa was arranging this to glorify Ambarish, to show the topmost level of Ambarish's bhakti. How he was, with all his senses, he was serving Lord Hari. Savayamana Krishna Padara Vindya, with his mind always remembering Krishna's lotus feet, his hands cleaning the temple, with his speech, Vachangsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarne, glorifying the Lord's pastimes in Vaikunta and the Lord's qualities. Kuro Harir Mandira Marjanati, so Shruting Chakara Chute Tadgunakyane, with his ears hearing Harikatha. So he was always performing bhakti. So Durvasa wanted to glorify him, so he performed this pastime. But externally, he tried to harm him or kill him. Ultimately, this just returned to him. And he ultimately suffered from this. So this is called Hanti. And then he fled for 1 year. He was traveling throughout the universes, trying to take shelter of the different demigods, Brahma, Shiva, and everyone said, I cannot help you. You have committed offense to a Vaishnava. So we see the danger of Vaishnava Parad. Finally, he went to Lord Vishnu, and Vishnu himself said, I cannot help you. Sadhavo Hridayam Mayam. The sadhus are my heart. I've completely offered myself to the sadhus. Aham Bhakta Paradino. I'm not independent. I've offered myself completely to the sadhus. So you have made an offense. Wherever you've made that offense, you must remove it from that place. Like if you have a thorn in your foot, you cannot take the thorn out from your head. If you step on a thorn, you must take the thorn out from your foot. So go back to Ambarish and beg forgiveness there. If he forgives you, then no problem. So the whole time he was running, it was described to be the time of 1 celestial year, which is a very long time. In the heavens, the Devas, one of their years is like 1,000 of our years. So he was fleeing from Sudarshan for that whole time. Finally, he came back to Ambarish, and he saw Ambarish was still following this Ekadashi Vrat because he did not want to break the fast fully. And he was waiting there, and the whole time he was praying to Sudarshan, please do not harm Durvasa. We see this is another quality of the Vaishnava. They are Samadarshi and they're also Nirapeksha. They're not concerned about their own welfare. Even though Durvasa tried to kill him, Ambarish did not try to reciprocate out of anger. Instead, he accepted this, and then he was praying for Durvasa. He said, Vaishnavas do like this. When someone commits offense to the Vaishnava, they don't think, oh, this person is offending me. Instead, they pray for their own welfare, and they pray to Hari, please don't hurt them. Said, Guru never takes offense. Vaishnava doesn't take offense. But who takes offense? Vaishnava Padaduli. The dust of the Vaishnavas, which is described to be their intimate associates, their followers, they take offense. And then Krishna also takes offense. So anyhow, Durvasa prayed for forgiveness to Ambarish. Ambarish said, there's no offense. I have not accepted, you did not make anything wrong. Actually, it was my mistake. And then Durvasa glorified Ambarish everywhere. So this is an example of hunting. Another example. One more example of hunting, then we'll go forward. We're going to try and cover about 6-7 stories now about Vaishnava Parad. So another story is Shobhari Rishi. Shobhari Rishi was doing austerities for 10,000 years in the Jamuna, under the water, with such great yogic power. He was doing austerities. One time Garuda came with a kumbha pot of heavenly nectar to give the devas. And he stopped in this area by Jamuna, which is Kaliyagat. He stopped there, he sat atop the tree, and some drops of that kumbha fell on that tree, and therefore that tree was always living. Even when Kaliya came and that whole area became poisonous, that tree survived because the kumbha, drop of nectar from heaven, touched it. This is Amrita. Kumbha means the pot. Like now Kumbha Mela is going on. The pot of nectar was brought by Garuda, and inside was heavenly nectar, which makes you immortal. So this touched the tree, and then even though later Kaliya came and poisoned that whole area, the tree survived. So when Garuda was there, after he was there for some time, then he went. Abhiram, you can move a little bit. She's having trouble seeing this one. Okay, good. So then, what happened? Garuda dived into the Jamuna and caught a big fish and ate it. How can a Vaishnava eat fish? Garuda is the carrier of Lord Vishnu. He is the topmost Vaishnava. He is Vishnu's own carrier. Why is he eating fish? Huh?
You're not teaching.
He said, Vaishnavira Kriya Mudra Vijnana Nabujai. It's very difficult to understand the activities of the Vaishnava. So you should never criticize. Like in Jagannath Puri, some of the pandas also eat fish. And this is a different class, this is a different case ultimately. But still, when Ramanujacharya came and he tried to kick out these pandas and arrange his own South Indian pandas who were following sattvic lifestyle. And Jagannath appeared in the dream of Ramanujacharya and sent him away from Puri also and said, don't disturb my bhaktas. So it is not, whatever they may be doing, it's said that the king's son cannot be chastised by an ordinary citizen. The prince, the king's son, cannot be chastised by an ordinary subject of the kingdom. The king can chastise his own son, but why are you trying to chastise the Vaishnavas? And also, you should not try to, it's very difficult to understand the activities of Vaishnavas. It said, like, Garuda took this fish out, but ultimately he gave it liberation by his contact, and he went to Vaikuntha Dham very quickly, like that. Any fish that he would catch, Bas, very quickly got liberation. Sometimes Guru and Vaishnavas travel throughout the world and they collect many people from families and bring them to Krishna. They're described to be fishermen. Like Garuda caught one fish. Jesus would also say, when Jesus was fishing, they said he caught Paul and some others, not Paul, a few of his first disciples. And he said, I will teach you how to be a fisher of men. And I will bring you people to me like that. So it said Guru and Vaishnavas are also like that. They travel around the whole world collecting people and offering them to Krishna. And sometimes people become angry at the Vaishnavas. Oh, you stole my son. Oh, you stole my daughter. You've brainwashed them. You used black magic. They become upset and they may criticize or offend the Vaishnavas. This is considered Vaishnava Parad. But we cannot understand the activities of the Vaishnava sometimes. And everything they are doing is for Nishreyasaya Bhagavan Kalpatena Nita Kuchit. We learned this verse. Why do they go anywhere? Also Garuda is a Vaishnava. Why did he go to Jamuna or anywhere? Only to give them their own ultimate good. Nishreyasaya Bhagavan Kalpatena Nita Kuchit. They only help others. There's no chance that they are not helping them spiritually. So we should not offend or criticize the Vaishnavas. It's very dangerous. So Shobhari Rishi said, if Garuda comes back here, his head will explode. So from that time, Garuda never came in that area because he honored the offense. Also, Vaishnavas are so powerful, they don't have to accept offenses. They can say, okay, I'm not accepting this offense. Meaning not accepting the offense, they don't accept the curse. If someone curses them, they don't have to accept it. But the Vaishnavas are so humble, they accept the curse even. Vaishnavas are very humble. They don't have to accept. But if they don't accept, they know it will backfire. Like with Durvasa and Ambarish. It backfired and it came to kill him. So they accepted. So Garuda accepted this and he did not come in that area. But what happened as a result? It said the result of offending the Vaishnava is that so many material desires will increase like many weeds in your heart and they will choke out your devotion. When you commit offenses to Vaishnavas, then immediately it's like you've given so much vitamins and minerals to all the weeds. Like, steroids. And these weeds are growing up very fast and choking your creeper of devotion. And then these material desires pour outside of your heart and like make your brain go mad, and you can't tolerate them. And then you have to give up your bhakti. So Shobhati Rishi was doing austerities for 10,000 years, meditating on God, worshipping God, but he made this offense, then immediately Sangsara Vasana came. This means desire for material, sense enjoyment, and family life came. He said this is the first result of Vaishnava Parad. If you're living like a brahmachari, always serving God, serving Thakurji, brahmachari is a chance, like as a yogi, to always serve God, not wasting time in mundane work. If you have a family, 8 hours, 10 hours you have to work, family, to maintain your family. So you are distracted. Like we heard, Grihina Dina Chetasam. Nanda Maharaj said to Gargamuni, you are so merciful to come here to us fallen householders. So this condition is said to be fallen, unless you are serving like Bhakti Vinod, which is quite rare. So therefore it's said that this material desire came in his heart. He came out of the Jamuna, and he had been in the Jamuna for so many thousands of years, you can imagine. He looked very strange, ugly, wrinkly, pale, long dreadlocks, barnacles. Very strange looking. So he had, lust came in his heart. This is also the result of Vaishnava Parad. Lust and anarthas come. And they become like a fire that is burning your body. So he had to go to find some way to extinguish this. So he went to the nearby kingdom, where the king was present with 50 young daughters, princesses, very beautiful. And he thought, now I want to marry this princess. So he told the king, I want to marry your daughter. The king thought, she's very ugly, and he's like 10,000 years old, long dreadlocks, very wrinkly and green and ugly, filled with algae. So he said, okay, he didn't want to say, you can have my daughter, because then his daughters would be mad at him. So he said, you can enter the palace, whichever daughter chooses you, she can be your wife. So then Shobhati Rishi thought, oh, now he's trying to trick me also. So by his yogic power, he still had yogic bal, his mystic power. He transformed his body into a very attractive young man, like a prince, very attractive, like a heavenly god, like Thor. And then he entered into the palace, and all the princesses became attracted to him, and they all wanted to marry him. So then the king said, okay, what can I do? They all wanted to marry him, so at once he married 50 people, 50 of these princesses, and he expanded his form into many forms so he could enjoy with them all. And it said for thousands of years after that, he became absorbed in sense enjoyment, which is described to be a very low kind of happiness. He said this is called Jad Ananda. Sense enjoyment and happiness in this world is called Jad Ananda. It's very small happiness. But if you are absorbed in like higher than Jad Ananda, Swarga Ananda, the happiness of heaven, and then higher than that is like Tapa, Swarga, there's Burlok, this world, and there's happiness in this world. That's called Jad Ananda. Then there's Swarga Lok, heaven, and there's happiness in heaven, which is higher happiness. Then there's Tapa Lok, where the sages are doing austerities. He was that higher level, and you taste much higher happiness. We think, I'm happy in this world when I'm enjoying through sex life, or through eating tasty foods, or engaging with sense objects. We think that's happiness, but it's very low happiness. So he was experiencing much higher happiness, but he had to give that happiness up and engage in very low class sense enjoyment, which Prahlad Maharaj said is just like scratching an itch. Yanmaitunadi grihamedi sukam hitucham. It said that sex life and family life is just like scratching an itch. And all the arrangement you are doing in family life is only to gratify this sensation. And really it's just like trying to relieve a burning itch. And we think that's happiness. And he's saying, everyone in this world is trying to increase this kind of happiness. Grihamedi sukam hitucham. It's described to be tucha, very insignificant. And everyone is trying to get that happiness. So he had to leave his high state of absorption in God and meditation, where he was experiencing great bliss. But because of his offense, he became a family man. And for thousands of years he was enjoying it. It took a very, very long time for him to start again his devotional practice. So that's one kind of Vaishnava Parad. This is Hanti. So the next kind, Nindati. Who is the example of criticizing the Vaishnava? There are many examples. Of these, one famous one is Gopal Chapal. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Gopal Chapal was a Shakta, worshipper of Durga Devi. And in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, for Mahaprabhu period, he was always criticizing Srivas Pandit, because Srivas Pandit was a worshipper of Lord Hari. He was always engaged in Hari Sankirtan. And Gopal Chapal was very disturbed and would always criticize him. He was also envious. So in this example is an example of dvesh, envy, also criticism. And he would always criticize Srivas Pandit, and he would also he would complain about him to like the Muslims, saying, oh, you're disturbing Lord Hari doing Sankirtan, he's resting, why are you doing loud Kirtan? I will call the Muslims to stop this. So he was always acting against Srivas Pandit. He would also put like meat in front of his door, and like kumkum and articles that are used to worship Durga Devi. And in this way he would show, oh, look, he's pretending to be a Vaishnava, really he's doing all these sinful activities. And he would criticize him like people who make false blames on Vaishnavas. This also comes under Nindanti. People who are making up false stories about Vaishnavas, criticizing them to others. This is Nindanti. That's why Gurudev said don't criticize the Vaishnavas, because this one is the most common actually. It's very rare to find someone who will try to beat or kill a Vaishnava. But many people have this tendency to criticize, oh, you know what about this Vaishnava? You heard this about this Vaishnava? They don't know anything. Second-hand, third-hand, fourth-hand information. But they're still gossiping and criticizing with others, and this is a very dangerous offense. What happened by this offense? Gopal Chapal became a leper. He has so many sores on his body, and many leprosy means you have like many small little worms will be eating your flesh. And your flesh will always be oozing with pus and blood. It's a very painful condition. And one time Mahaprabhu was there in Navadvip doing Sankirtan, and Mahaprabhu was giving prem to everyone. He was giving pure love to everyone. But Gopal Chapal came and begged at Mahaprabhu's feet, please free me from this condition, give me prem. Mahaprabhu said, you have to suffer in hellish condition for millions of lifetimes for your offense to Srivas Pandit. For millions of lifetimes you'll have to suffer for your offenses. Mahaprabhu was very angry. He said, Mahaprabhu forgives everyone. Mahaprabhu is Patit Pavan. He is the deliverer of the fallen, and he is like Karuna Avatar. He's the incarnation of mercy. But still, he was very angry with this Gopal Chapal, who became a leper. And then he said, you must take forgiveness from Srivas Pandit. So later on, he went and he begged forgiveness from Srivas Pandit. Srivas Pandit said, the Vaishnava doesn't take offense. But still, you have to show this. You make offense to Vaishnava, they don't take offense. But still, to make God forgive you, because Krishna is angry. If you offend Vaishnava, Krishna is angry. So if you want Krishna to forgive you and Vaishnava Padaduli, the associates of Vaishnavas, to forgive you, you must go and beg forgiveness from the Vaishnava. With Sastang Pranam, with real humility, not externally. You must really beg forgiveness with sincerity in your heart. Then it's possible that you can be forgiven and you can get some atonement, prayashchitta. So he went and begged forgiveness, and then next time Mahaprabhu came, then he came and saw Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu blessed him to start the process of Bhakti Yoga, Harinam Sankirtan, and at that point he was saved. Another example of Nindati. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mother was not given prem. This is how important it is to avoid Vaishnava Parad. Even Sachi Mata, the mother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the mother of God, she criticized Advaita Acharya. When Advaita Acharya was preaching always the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and it said Vishrambar, Mahaprabhu's elder brother, would daily come and hear Harikatha from Advaita Acharya. And because of this, renunciation developed in his heart, and he became a sannyasi and left home. And Sachi Mata was feeling some pain because the mother has so much love for her son. She doesn't want to see the son become a renunciant and leave home. Mother generally wants that the son will get married, live nearby, I'll have grandchildren, he'll help support me. The mother wants to see the family stay together. But becoming a sannyasi means you leave and you maintain no relation with the mother and father. So she felt some pain as a woman, as a mother. This is also for pastime, but still, it's showing that this Krishna, even his own mother, if she makes aparad, she has to take a prayashchitta, atonement. And when Mahaprabhu was giving prem to, what did she say? Then Mahaprabhu later on was developing some signs of renunciation, like his brother. And he told his mother one day, I had a dream where my brother came to me and said, you should also take sannyas. And Mother Yashoda was feeling great pain. And Mahaprabhu would go and hear Harikatha also from Advaita Acharya, and she didn't like this. She wasn't happy that he was going. And one time she said, his name is not Advaita, it is Dvaita. Advaita means to keep things together. It's non-dual. Advaita means non-dual, or keep it together. But really he's Dvaita, always dividing. Dvaita means two, or dividing. So he's Dvaita, not Advaita. And she just said this, he is Dvaita, not Advaita. And because of this is considered Nindati, criticizing Vaishnava. Because of this, Mahaprabhu gave prem to everyone. He was giving divine love to everyone. And then everyone said, oh, you have not given to Sachi Mata, your mother? He said, what can I do? She offended Advaita Acharya. So when Advaita Acharya, she heard about this, and when Advaita Acharya was absorbed in Sankirtan and he fell over senseless in Bhav, Advaita Acharya, knowing that she is the mother of Mahaprabhu, God himself, he would not let her, if she went to him directly, he would not accept her apology, because he's thinking she had never made any offense. And generally, if you make aparad, you should go to the Vaishnavas and take their foot dust. and beg forgiveness like that. So he would not let her take his foot dust. So when he fell senseless in Sankirtan and Bhav, ecstatic symptoms of love, then she went and took his dust and smeared it on his body and begged forgiveness. And later on, Advaitacharya said, I have never taken any offense. And then Mahaprabhu gave her prem. So we see this example of Nindati, even in the case of Sachimata, the mother of Mahaprabhu. If there is some Vaishnava parad, then you cannot get Krishna prem. And you must go to that Vaishnava you committed offense to and beg forgiveness. So this is an example of Nindati. Now, we have 10 minutes, so we're going to go through the rest quickly. So then Dvesti, right? How does it start? Hanti Nindanti Vai Dvesti, to have enviousness towards the Vaishnava. An example of this is Ramchandra Khan, also in the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. So before Mahaprabhu appeared also. No, I think Mahaprabhu was there already then, but Ramchandra Khan was one like magistrate or landowner, wealthy person. Also a Hindu, but he was antagonistic towards Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was doing sadhan bhajan, and everyone became attracted to him. He was chanting every day 3 lakhs Harinam, and wherever the pure devotee is present, people will become attracted. Then other people become envious of them. Wherever the pure devotee is, naturally, wherever there's nice honey, then many bees will come, or many people will come and be attracted to that. Wherever the pure devotee is present, then people will be attracted. Krishna, Karishni, even Krishna is attracted to the pure devotee. What to speak of ordinary people? So everyone was coming to Haridas Thakur, and this Ramchandra Khan became very envious. So he arranged to send the prostitute to try to drag Haridas Thakur down, to try to pull him down from his position. And the prostitute came, and by Haridas Thakur's association, over a few days, she also became a pure devotee. She herself changed, but she didn't have envy towards Haridas. She never made Vaishnava parad. She was sent by this Ramchandra Khan to make him fall down, but she never had hatred or enmity towards him. She was doing her duty. She was doing her profession, her vocation. She went to Haridas trying to entice him to fall down with her, but Haridas Thakur, because we also heard about the symptom of a sadhu, they have no material calm because they are completely absorbed in the bliss of Harinam. So this is a much higher kind of happiness. So the lower kind of happiness is very insignificant. Krishna says in the Gita, Param drisva nivartate. If you taste the higher taste, then the lower taste, you have no attraction for it. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinang raso varjang rasopyasva param drisva nivartate. Once you get the higher taste for spiritual life, then you completely lose any taste for material sense enjoyment. Yamuna Charya, the guru of Ramanujacharya, said, now when I've tasted the sweet nectar of Krishna Bhakti Ras, and I'm absorbed in serving Krishna, then I remember my past time before he was a king, and he enjoyed with many concubines and women. And he said, when I remember this, then I spit at the thought of material, like sex life. Because now I'm enjoying this sweet nectar, sweet ras of Krishna Seva, which is an intoxicating nectar. It said, Hari Rasa Madira Madari Mata. When you take this Hari Ras, pure spiritual love and relationship with Krishna, it becomes like an intoxicating nectar. You become drunk in this. And then it is said, Jatanuraga Jitachutta Utsaya. At that point you will roll about in the ground and weep in ecstasy and experience all the symptoms of ecstasy. Then at that stage of life, this ordinary sense enjoyment seems like stool in urine. And just thinking about that, you'll spit at the thought. This is how you can know if you're at the high level of bhakti or not. All these ordinary sense enjoyments appear like dry sand or stool in urine. Who would want to eat stool in urine or vomit? It's a very low thing. So we see Haridas Thakur had no attraction to this prostitute, so he also did not reject her. We learn this verse in the Gita. Raga dvesha vimuktaistu. When you're free from both attachment and aversion. Raga dvesha vimuktaistu. Vishayarindriyas charan, which arise from objects of the senses. Atma visyar vidyatma prasadam adigachati. Then you can get God's grace and mercy. And then prasade sarvadukram, that destroys all kinds of misery. So this is an example. So Haridas Thakur turned this prostitute into a great Vaishnavi, and it said from all over that area people would come for her darshan. He gave her Harinam, she stayed with Tulsi and every day chanted 3 lakhs, and she maintained her life by the alms people would give her, and Haridas Thakur left. But what happened to Ramchandra Khan? He was very envious of Haridas. He continued trying to disturb Haridas Thakur, and he continued complaining about Haridas Thakur. He was complaining to the Muslims about Haridas Thakur. Oh, he is a Muslim, but why is he following Hari Bhakti? He's going against his dharma. And in Islam, if you give up your own religion and take another religion, you become an apostate. And it said they will kill you for this. So he was complaining about him as well. So as a result of that, when Nityananda Prabhu was traveling, doing Sankirtan. Then one time he came to Ramchandra Raj's home because he had a big palace. And he was with many devotees. And he said, oh, we need some place to rest. And so his servants went to Ramchandra Khan and said, Nityananda has come. And he wants some place for the devotees to rest. And he said, oh, they're just useless people like cow herders. They can stay with the cows. They can stay in the Goshala where there's much cow stool and urine and mud. He said, I won't give them any place in my home. So Nityananda became angry, but really he was not upset for this offense. He was upset because he was not giving place for the Vaisnavas. This is Nayati Harsam Darsane. He was not happy to see the Vaishnavas, Ramchandra Khan, because Nityananda was there with so many Vaishnavas. So this is two aparats actually in one. That this Ramchandra Khan was not happy to see all the Vaishnavas with Nityananda Prabhu. And he said, oh, they can stay in the cow shed with all the cow dung and cow urine and mud. I have no place for them in my nice palace. I will not give them food, water, and anywhere to stay. So Nityananda was upset about that. But also he was even more upset with how he had treated Haridas Thakur. And therefore he said, oh, your house, everything, this entire village will be destroyed. Muslims will come and ransack this place. And cows will be cooked on your land. And your whole family will be destroyed. He gave this kind of curse. And within a short time, the Muslims came. He was actually like a governor who was collecting taxes on the Muslim behalf. And later on, he had not given tax properly. So the Muslim kings and the rulers came, and they discovered what he had done, and they completely destroyed his village, his family, and everything. So this was the result of his Vaishnava Parad. So we have 2-3 more minutes, because we started late. So we'll just quickly try to finish the rest of the examples. Dveshti. Maybe we do it tomorrow. Then there's Na Abhinandati. Tomorrow. How long is the reading going? How much time is on the thing?
Oh, it's 32 minutes.
We can do tomorrow. We have Na Abhinandati. Example of Na Abhinandati is Romaharshan Sutta and Indra. 2 stories there. Then we have Krudite. Krudite example. I won't tell you now, but there's an example of Krudite. Then there is Harsham Nayati Harsham Darshane. Another example. So there's like 4 or 5 more stories to tell. Tomorrow we'll learn a new verse. We'll learn a new verse tomorrow, and then in like 15 minutes we'll cover the rest of this topic. Okay?